All right, everybody, welcome to a long-awaited video itself. I do apologize for being out of commission for a time frame. I've been dealing with a bunch of annoyances, but we're not focusing on that. We're going to focus on this. So this right here is going to be a nice little unboxing of a Chaos Knights Army set. Now, I'm probably a lot late to this party, but might as well get this taken care of for y'all. But basically, as most of y'all know, there is a special machine known as an Imperial Knight. And in fact, they, obviously with Chaos, they have their own separate faction. This particular one is a nice little box set that comes with 3 of them. So primarily there is the standard Chaos Knight, which is known, this particular one is known as a Knight Abominant, as well as 2 I forget the actual names for the Space Marine equivalent, but these are known as War Dogs, which are basically the smaller, more portable knight itself. Now, basically, especially with this particular box, it's pretty simple, about $265 for the box, which contains, like I said, the 3 models itself, but as well as the data cards and the rules for these particular models itself. Now, main thing is like, oh, well, the knights have been around for a long while. Why are we caring about it now? Well, particularly, the Chaos Space Marines don't have a dedicated Chaos Knights. They just had a standard rules for an Imperial Knight that you just paint up Chaos. Particularly with this little box set, it actually adds full-blown Chaos modeling, Chaos armature, particular faction-specific weapons. Instead, as much as everyone loves a nice good kit bash, some people just want to stick with a more basic, simplified version. So that's what they actually came out with this. And I'll definitely say, especially for the more long run, is actually pretty cool. But like I said, we'll be going over more of the information later. For now, let's go ahead and get this lovely thing opened up. We can actually flip it around real quick. Get off the lovely wrapping. There you go. That looks very nice. So like we did with the Space Marine unboxing, mainly we're just going to go over what we're going to open it up, and we're going to go over all the rules and information. I don't want to go over too much of it, because for those that want to explore it themselves, I'm going to let y'all enjoy that. But for others that aren't planning on getting it, this is at least what you can expect. So, very nice box itself. And then there we go. Obviously with every Games Workshop or modeling type deal, you will get an assortment of lovely gray plastic tray. These appear to be the more War Dogs, basically the smaller version of the Imperial Knights, but basically you get a good assortment amount. And it looks like 1, 2, 3 of these, which are for the larger, more deadlier Imperial Knight itself. I don't know why, but it feels oddly small to me. I definitely haven't looked at mine in a while, but it could be anything. So let's go ahead and get these out of the way. But basically, like I said, you'll have good, solid 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trays for the War Dogs, which have all these different customizable effects and materials. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to paint these myself, or if I'm just simply going to put it on eBay and let someone else deal with it, or if you guys want, I'll gladly commission it for you. Just message me, let me know, see what you want. Oh, and this is nice right here. So normally, especially for these, I forget these special editions, which, like for example, these, since I actually bought this when it first came out, it actually comes with a little bit of extra. Like this right here is a lovely little background with the basically showing a nice little event horizon behind it. So obviously we have our nice little Imperial Knights. Obviously we have the Black Legion, that's their name, Terminators, Hell Drakes in the background. It's just a beautiful, well, destructive yet awe-inspiring background that comes along with it, which is basically what the box art is itself. So we'll go ahead and set that aside. And then here we are. We have the book. Very solid, very proper. As well as the stickers. Obviously, some people do like doing freehand, but if you want just some simple transfer, we'll actually go over this a bit more later on. But primarily for the if you want to do a transfer, all you got to do is cut out the piece you want. Let's say I want to do like this symbol right here. This is, well, actually, we'll do a bigger one right here. So basically, if I want this little symbol somewhere, I will cut this piece out, wet it, and then do like a little with a brush and push it onto the model and spread it out that way. Instead of having to paint everything, I can just have like, oh, this looks very nice. And it goes over like the different things. So like, for example, we have the night houses. I'm not exactly sure which one's what, but at least goes over all the information you could want, as well as different runes, meanings. Completely up to you how you want to do it. Now, obviously, we have our rule book, but we're going to go ahead and hold off on this. This, like I said, this is a special edition rule book itself, so it has a beautiful front cover, which, as you can see, here's what the cover looks like splayed out. Very beautiful, very lovely indeed, but we'll move that aside for a moment. Now, we also have the 3 bases. Here is the one large one for the Imperial Knights, and the 2 smaller ones for the War Dogs. Very lovely, very nice. Move that aside. One more transfer sheet right here, basically some additional information, I assume, for the war. Yeah, here it is. Chaos Knight transfer sheet War Dogs. Very, very beautiful indeed. And then finally, we have a box of data cards. Now, particularly for the data card, I kind of want to leave this locked up because like I said, I don't know if I want to I haven't bothered playing 40K in a while, so I don't know if I want to crack this out or sell these in particular or whatever. It's a couple of things I still have to go over. I actually got to go through some of my stuff in my closet and try to either get rid of it or get it set up and set aside and however. But that's for future me to decide with. So I'm just going to leave these closed. But for those that may not know, a data card is basically a template rule set that comes with like, hey, this is what this weapon does. Hey, this is what this ability is. Hey, I use stratagem A, which gives me the full rule set instead of having to flip through the book and ruining it and wearing it out and bending it and whatever. I can be like, hey, I just need 1, 2, 7 cards, and then that's everything for one model or one army, or this is what I plan to do it. It helps speed up time. It's not just this, well, this particular one is a specialized faction just for the fanciness of it, but every faction should be now, especially for 9th edition, should have a data card set of some kind. Normally they're all sold separately, but because this is a special edition box, it comes with everything you see here itself. But this is very useful, especially for those that just don't want to keep flipping through rules or printing off pages, because some people actually do that, what they need. They have like a set template of what they want. All right, move that out of the way. But that appears to be everything, and then everything else in here is just a placeholder, so I'm just going to go ahead and put this back in here. I'm going to move this lovely thing out of the way, and then we're going to go ahead and open the book. So let me go ahead and get my little cutter. There we go. Oh, there we go. That is it. That is it. Just going to peel it off. Oh, very nice. Okay, so before I go on to the book, I'm actually going to go on to this. So, normally, when you buy a model, like I said, this is for those that may or may not know, if this is your first time looking at whatever this is because you saw it on your feed, welcome. But for every model you're going to get, whether it's Games Workshop, whether it's Fantasy, whether it's 40K, every particular box should come with a rule book of some kind. GW, or Games Workshop as they're better known as, will have like a nice detailed book that goes just for what it should look like, as well as what you have, such as, for example, right here we have the War Dogs. It tells you, hey, you can make it a full melee content, you can make it full range, you can do the knight itself, and here's how you can choose what each knight does, such as the Knight Abonnent, which will have its own rule set. Basically tells you like, hey, follow rules 1 through 7. And then for your War Dogs, you can be like, I want a Carnivore, I want a Brigandant, I want a Stalker. It helps you choose a variant, because particularly, especially for Knights, it is the same template, but each one has a certain loadout. I could buy 3 of these, and each one could be completely different entirely. But at least it shows you like, hey, this is the options you can take. But for most like smaller models, it'll be like, hey, here's what it looks like when you're building it with a power maul, or here's what it looks like with a machine gun or a heavy weapons team. And then this is just going over all what you have, and then as you can see right here, every rule step by step, what to find, what it looks like, and then putting it all together until you get your lovely base, body, all the way down to the final thing itself. Now, I want to say for the, what is it called? The abominant. It has a particular, I assume from what it looks like, this is what it must look like. So this particular kit is just building a Chaos Knight Abominant. If my memory also serves me right, the Abominant has a special effect rule where it's like a psyker, I think. I'm not for sure, but we'll look in the book later on. But as you see, it goes over every page, how to set it up, how to do this one, how to do that one, until you get to the very end, and that's what it should look like for option A or option B or whatever the set mode is. Alright, so that'll be for this one. I'm going to set this one aside. Back in the box. Now, particularly, I'm just going to go over like bits and pieces of this. If you seem interested in this, I would highly encourage, if you're able to still find these, to go to your local shop, go online, go to Games Workshop. As much as I want to say, yeah, you more likely will have to go to Games Workshop. I don't know if they're still going to have this up there. It's probably been like months since this came out, so I doubt that this particular box you're going to find. And eBay is probably going to be selling it up the wazoo for like thousands of dollars. But like I said, if you ever find special edition things that seem interesting, try it. Worst case scenario, you have a very nice model afterward, but sometimes it just, ooh, there's the first bit of a fresh book. And then, yeah, there it goes. Goes with a little bit of lore, some flavor text, obviously contents, and then introducing what the books are. Every different book will have their own rule and feature. Just go over this real quick. Let's see. Hail, Scion of Damnation, and prepare to take your rightful place upon your warped throne. From there, armed with dangerous knowledge contained in this tome, the galaxy awaits your conquest. Welcome to Codex Chaos Knights, within which you will find the fell histories of the fallen nobles and the corrupted knight suits they pilot to battle as they further the will of the dark gods. Lovely little flavor text they add into it. And then they'll also add in like extra information, be like, hey, this is what verbatim, this is what you're basically gonna need. Goes with a lovely little history about basically the front page or the outside of the book, a particular battle, and then it goes over all the different lore on each and everything, which for those of you that may or may not already know, a Chaos Knight is more than just a simple power suit. Quick lore history. The Imperial Knight was designed for the beginning colonization efforts. These machines would have the chain axes, which would take on the local monsters or chop down trees and carry it back to the cities as they would build themselves up. And eventually, over time, as these cities became more industrialized, more self-sufficient, the knight's job became less and less, to where it was considered like a knight house, a nobility, like only it was just inherited through your bloodline, and every generation past would be considered a high-ranking thing, and only, which actually, which is hilarious, is a imperial knight does not take orders from the local planetary governor. They can be suggested to do things, but it's more encouraged based off what their roles and responsibilities are. And then pendant on what the house is, will have its own creed and doctrine. And another crazy thing, especially about the Imperial Knights, is the machine spirit is a little more affected than normal, such as there's more than just the machine inside, but it is also your ancestors. Every person that has piloted a particular knight, especially as it gets older, you will understand and feel the nobility or the responsibility and role that comes with each passing person. Now, particularly for the Chaos Knights, these are the nobility houses that either turned away from the Emperor or fell from grace through chaos. more than likely, depending on the planets, especially if it was belonged to a particular legion, such as the Traitor Legion, they would more than likely fall or join the Chaos to be alive rather than fight or die or however. But that is neither here nor there. They're like, but going back onto the main point, particularly it goes over like, hey, this is what the story is for the Chaos Knight itself. Here's how it happened. As it just goes on and on, particularly, especially about like the corruption from the noble houses, whether it be through Khorne or Slaanesh or Nurgle. To basically fight one of these things is to deal with craziness itself. Iconoclast houses. Iconoclast houses are defined by malice and madness that lead to their corruption. In place of honor, they pursue only conquest, destroying whatever enemies stand before them to expand their tyrannical domains. Many have long histories of depravity that stretch back thousands of years, though new iconoclast houses can be formed wherever the taint of the warp takes hold. But yeah, this is actually a lot of lore itself that goes through it. And then there are the infernal houses. So, just like the Imperial Knights, there are two houses. There is the particular nobility house, and then there is the Mechanicus house. So, for Space Marines, you obviously have your standard knight houses, which preach honor, thing, whatever. And then you have the Mechanicus houses, which were particular knight houses that belong to the... not the Ecclesiarch, to the machine god, the Mechanicus, the Adeptus Mechanicus, that the convent of Mars, basically. Now, just like Space Marines, the corruption affected everything. So, with the Iconoclasts, these guys are the corrupted noble houses, where we have now the infernal houses, which are those that are part of the Dark Mechanicum. And these, just like the Adeptus Mechanicus, the Dark Mechanicus are pure traitors, which they go more corruption with the machine or craziness on this. Though close ties with the Dark Mechanicum, the infernal houses find ever more twisted ways to warp their weapons and machinery. In brutal campaigns, they strip the worlds of their material resources and enslave entire population, funneling their plunder into nightmarish rituals to infuse their knight suits with power of chaos. And then it just goes over the brief lore of the Dark Mechanicus, and then a lot more, a couple stories involving certain histories and transactions, such as the Nocturne of Become. A lot of, like I said, a lot of flavored text, a lot of lore, a lot of information to go at you. Dreadblades. Here we go. Not all fallen nobles offer fealty or suffer bonded servitude to a dread household. Dreadblades call no one masters. These lone knights are perhaps the most dangerous, for their obsessions, insanities, and whims are given free rein. They bestride the galaxy as questing despots, fulfilling their cruelest desires while descending into damnation. Now, a Dreadblade is the inverse of a Freeblade, and basically these guys hold no particular honor to a particular house or the Mechanicus or whoever. These are lone wolves. These are lone knights. Just like the Freeblades would not fall to a particular house in the Imperium, Dreadblades are their complete opposite. They're corruption, except they can do whatever they want. Let's see, then it shows the Heraldry of the Fallen, basically going over like, hey, here's what some information means. Here's where you would put that heraldry, marking what their house is, who they are, if they're a particular rank, such as on block 1, household emblem or Dreadblade personal emblem. It basically just gives you at least an idea of what type of, how to define your particular knight. Because some people, they'll go straight with the lore. This is the house I run. Here's what my knight looks like. Others will be like, hey, especially for the Freeblade, or for this one, the Dreadblade, These guys are pure customized. This is here's the information I want, here's his god, here's this, here's that. Completely up to you. And then, just like the Imperium, it'll go over a couple houses, such as House Lucaris. Strike first, strike often. Of all the iconoclast houses, there are none bolder nor more tenacious than the House Lucaris. They have waged multiple barbaric campaigns against the Imperium, butchering those who fight in the Emperor's name in all corners of the galaxy over tens, thousands of years. They have reaped a total carnage too high of any single scriptorum to record. So, like I said before, there's all this extra lore. Each house has their own iconography, also like in their own individual page of lore. Here's who they are, here's how they operate. This is like nice little backstory that goes along with each one. But the second house we have is Herpatrax, which is the We Bow to No One. Herpatrax is an oddity among knight houses, in that its nobles never swore allegiance to the Imperium. They serve no master beyond their own keep and instead prey upon any world within reach and any fleet that dares stray too near their home world. So these guys appear to be more of like a mercenary type deal. House Khmer. Through flame lies the path to victory. For 10,000 years, the Knight House of Khmer have fought ferociously for the glory of the Imperium. The cracked and burning surface of the world, Sultor's Wake, was dotted with monolithic statues of the Emperor, towards which a faithful serf classes of the planet prayed for hours every day. All that would change with the emergence of the Great Rift. So this particular Knight House may have fallen after the 13th Crusade, but that's a bit of other information. I don't want to go too much into it and spoil things. Then Corvax. Let's see, Corvax. From the myths Reef keeps on the penumbral planet of Corvacy, the knights of House Corvax spread the dark corruption of chaos. Misery and fear are their heralds. These dread knights' engines loom out of the cloy shadows that surround them like monolithic specters, while with dirge-like war horns blaring, they close in on their terrified foes, pulverize them with deadly salvos of fire, and crushing them beneath thunderous charges. And then House Vetrix, duty is eternal. They cling excessively to their oaths of fealty unto the death, no matter how abhorrent the duty or how fell the means required to meet them. The Knights of Vextrix embrace the corrupted power and status of their unwavering devotions granted to them. In doing so, their fallen nobles sink ever deeper into damnation. And then, let's see, House Comets. The Knights of Cometis are denounced as twice damned in the eyes of those imperial nobles who have survived their attacks. Traitors to the Imperium and symbiotes of demonic powers, the Knight House of Comets are deemed doubtably dangerous. These Chaos Knights are hunters of beasts and monstrosities beyond compare, as adept at pursuing warp spawn as they are hunting the lapdogs of the Imperium. So these guys may, for example, if you are going to run this particular house, you could be a bit more demonic or corrupted. Like I said, it's just little random information that comes with all of this that makes it so nice. Chronicles of Terror, basically going through like the bit of history for each thing, particular factions, particular colors, what each one means. The Dread Pageantry. Chaos Knights display their chassis, the icons that denote their allegiance. Some bear markings of their fallen household, others did efface remnants of imperial symbols, and others still profane dabblings of their worshippers. Together with personal arms and trophies of vile deeds, these knights form glory. Basically just going over like, hey, this, how you paint them is, or how you design them is particularly up to you itself. Like each one could have different icons or skulls or chains or spikes or symbols that mean certain things for certain houses, and then it goes through like several different pages of not, I don't exactly say box art, but showcases them charging into a line of Imperial Guardsmen towering over other war knights, like how one would actually build all of these. Looks very nice indeed. Especially this one right here. This one does come with a nice design and markings. Very good. All right, now we have the official rules. Basically, we'll just go over simple. So, Battleforge rules. Units in a Chaos Knight detachment gain additional abilities. How they operate together, we can find out more in the core rulebook. The Dread households. Chaos Knight detachments in your armies can be from a Dread household or they can be a Dread blade. Either case, the units, those attachments will have access to unique rules. You'll be able to select their alignment and then stratagems. Chaos Knights will have their own specialized stratagem. Okay, let's see. Favor the Dark Gods, Warlord traits, discipline, match rules. Okay, this just goes over all the information, so we'll move on later. Here we go. Let's see. Combat Patrol is a small size game, and Chaos Knights Force Below is a great way to start. Whether you want to play an open game, for narrative, or complete match play, it just goes over like, hey, here's what you can do. Okay, here we go. Full rules. So, Chaos Knight detachment is one that only includes models with Chaos Knight keyword, excluding models with the Agent of Chaos or unaligned. Chaos Knights detachment gain the Traitor's Lances and Fallen Hero abilities, which there are down here. Chaos Knights in the Chaos Knight detachment gain Towering Foe, Traitor's Ambitions, and Household Bond abilities. War Dog class units in Chaos Knight detachment gain the Objective Secured ability, and this is more described in the 40k core book. Note that Chaos Knight's Super Heavy Auxiliary Detachments still get these attachment abilities even though Super Heavy Auxiliary Detachments do not normally gain any abilities. So, Chaos Knights, they get the following abilities. Traitorous Lances. If this attachment is a Super Heavy Detachment, or if you're playing a Combat Patrol battle, and this is a Super Heavy Auxiliary Detachment, select one War Dog class, a Horror class, or Tyrant class model in this attachment. It gains the character keyword. If this attachment contains 1 to 2 Abhorrent class models, or if it contains between 3 to 5 War Dog class models, this attachment command benefits are changed to +3 command points if your Warlord is part of your detachment. If this attachment contains 3 or more Abhorrent class models, or contains 6 or more War Dog models, and 1 or more Titanic units, this detachment benefits are changed to +6 if your Warlord is part of this detachment. So basically, it's showing how you would describe this. So let's say you had just the War Dogs and your Abhorrent, which comes in this box. This would just be a standard Combat Patrol or Super Heavy Detachment, which gives you +1. And one of the guys becomes a character. Basically, your quote, either which can become your Warlord. And if you are in your larger games, let's say you manage to have 2 Abhorrents and multiple War Dog classes, you'll get +3 if one of the guys is considered your Warlord. Or if you're in a very large game where you have 3 or more Abhorrents, or if you got 6 War Dogs plus a large Titanic, boom, you got +6 to this detachment. Okay, Fallen Hero. If this detachment is a Super Heavy Detachment that contains 1 Dreadblade unit, until the end of the battle, that unit gains Agent of Chaos keyword. Only 1 Dreadblade unit from your army can have the keyword. This inclusion of the Dreadblade Agent of Chaos unit from your army does not prevent Chaos units in your army from using any rules that require every single model from your army to have the same keyword, such as Contagions of Nurgle, Cannibalistic Ritual, so on, so on. Now, the Knights themselves, Towering Foe. This model counts as 5 models when determining control of an objective marker. If it's Titanic, it counts as 10. Basically, when you're playing actual games, because these guys are going to be overran by smaller units, one of these guys right here can count as like a group of 5, whereas the bigger ones can be counted as a group of 10, because there's only so much you can fit on one objective. Traitorous Ambitions. Chaos Knights march along the path of the nation, however, preferred method is which by enact their brutal ambitions differ between Arcana class and Infernal. Let's see. All Chaos Knights with this ability, excluding Dreadblade, and all models in them gain the Traitorous Ambition, so as long as every unit in their detachment owes their allegiance to the same household. i.e., every model has the Icona class or the infernal household keyword. The ambition is gained dependent on what allegiance they have, which we'll go over later on. Let's see, iconoclast households. Basically, if you have a full iconoclast household, each time a model in this ambition fights, if it has made a charge move, was charged, or performed heroic intervention, then until the fight resolves. So they get this ability. They get +1 attack characteristic and +1 armor penetration for their melee weapons. Whereas the infernal household gets something known as demonic surge. Each in your command phases, each model with this traitorous ambition can use 1 demonic surge. If a model uses demonic surge, you must do the following: inflict 1 mortal wound on the model and roll a d3 on the table below. Determine the rule that applies. Or inflict d3 mortal wounds on this model and select 1 result from the table below until the next command phase. So, do damage, get the following ability. Demonic Hunger, add 3 inches to this movement characteristic. Demonic Fortitude, each time an attack is made against this model, an unmodified wound roll of 1 to 3 for that attack automatically fails, irrespective of any abilities that the weapon or the model making the attack may have. And finally, Demonic Power. Select 1 weapon that is equipped with. Each time the attack is made with the weapon, add 1 to the attack wounds roll. So basically, if you go the Iconoclast, you'll get +1 to attacks, +1 to your armor penetration for your melee. And then Infernal will get deal itself a damage and get a random d3, or deal d3 wounds and choose one of these, which gives you either +3 movement, cannot be wounded unless it's 4 or higher, and then or get +1 wound to your weapons, to a weapon of yours, which, depending on how you use it, can be pretty nice. Here we are, Household Bond. All Chaos Knights with this ability and all models in them gain the Household Bond as long as the detachment has at least 3 models, excluding Dreadblade. When you muster your army, every unit in their detachment, except Dreadblades, form the same Dread Knight household. If your Dread House does not have an associated household bond, they must select a Fel bond for them, described by page 45-46. Allows you to customize a rule for your Dread things. So basically for this, you can either select a pre-approved house, which show earlier, or you can make up your own with a Fel bond, which I think we'll have to see later on. If a detachment includes any Dreadblade, you must instead select a Fel bond for each of them. As described on pages 64 and 65, each Dreadblade must have a unique Fel bond, and so you cannot select a Fel bond for a Dreadblade unit if any other unit from your army has the same Fel bond. Note, the Dreadblade units always receive a Fel bond regardless of how many models are in their detachment. And then it actually goes over something else here. Dreaded. Some abilities in this book are dreaded abilities, which affect enemy models or units within dread range. At the start of the battle, this range is 12, but it can be increased through certain rules. Effects of multiple identically named abilities do not accumulate. If they're within 2, then only 1 applies. Note that while in many regards to aura abilities, dread abilities are not affected by abilities that affect aura abilities and vice versa. So basically, if it is a skull, it has a dreaded effect. Dreaded abilities affect units within the range. It starts at 12 inches, and dreaded abilities are unaffected by rules of aura abilities. So basically, for the Chaos Knights, they actually get something special, where they can either have a bonus effects based, I don't know if it's a terror, I don't know if it's a minus abilities, if it's a debuff, buff for you, whatever. They have special effects to their thing. Starts it at the beginning of the game, it starts at 12, but it may get bigger, but we'll look at that for more information. Dread households. Basically, you can select one of the following information here, or have your own. So, Traitor's Ambition. They owe allegiance to Iconoclast or Infernal, can gain Traitor's Ambition as described on page 55. Everyone except the Dreadblade is in a Dread household will gain the household bond described on page 56. Warlord traits, they have certain stratagems, they can gain a relic, All right, here we go. So now we have the houses. So basically, if you wanted to go with a particular one, here's what the house does. Here's what they get, such as Traitor's Ambition, Conquerors Without Mercy. You chose the Hierophants. You're a Iconoclast. Boom, you get the bonus. You get that particular one. Dauntless is the particular household bond. Add +2 to the wound characteristics of War Dogs, and add 4 to the wound characteristic of Titans. They have their own stratagem, which, let's see, at the end of the fight phase, select one house Hierophants model from your army, roll d6 for each enemy unit within 6. On a 2 to 5, that enemy unit suffers a mortal wound. On a 6, they suffer d3 mortal wounds. Let's see, Warlord trait bow to no one. The Warlord can ignore any modifiers to their characteristics, except for the ones that show damage suffered, as shown on the sheet. Each time the Warlord makes an attack, you can ignore any or all modifier to its hit, wound, or damage. Each time this Warlord advances or declares a charge, you can ignore all modifiers to advance or roll. Basically, for the Hierophants, you get health boost to your War Dogs and Titans. You do, at the end of every fight phase, you can do AoE damage, and then basically you can if you, let's say you're fighting an army that has a lot of buffs, debuffs, like I know for sure the Dark Elves and Space Elves actually do that as well. You're not gonna take any modifiers, but do know you're not gonna gain any bonuses either. So this is good if you're fighting someone that has a lot of debuffs. But that's just specifically for the Warlord. Let's see, you can get a Crown of Jirthra. Each time a melee attack is made against the bearer, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So you get the person that owns the relic gets a -1 to hit against it. Let's see, Ludicrous. They get the Conquerors Without Mercy. They have the bond Virtue Through Strength. Each time a model with this bond is selected to fight, you can re-roll 1 hit roll or 1 wound roll when resolving this model's attack. So one of the Salamander's old ability. And so basically just re-roll 1 dice for them. And it's not a stratagem, it's just outright, oh, I'm going to re-roll this. But either 1 hit or 1 wound. I don't think you can do more than just that. The stratagem is when you select a Titanic model from your army to make a normal move or advance. After they have moved, select an enemy unit it moved across, excluding aircraft. Roll d6. Add 1 to the result if the enemy contains 6 to 10 models. Add 2 if it contains 11 or more. On a 3 to 6, the enemy suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 7 up, they suffer d6 mortal wounds. Trample them is the name of the stratagem. Warlord is strike first, strike often. At the start of the fight phase, if the Warlord is engaged, it can fight first that phase. Serpentine Core. Ludicrous model only. Select 1 Demon Breath Meltagun, Twin Demon Breath Meltagun, Demon Breath Spear, or Demon Breath Thermal Cannon. The weapon is now a relic for all rules and purposes. Delete the weapon's abilities. Add 1 to the weapon strength and 2 to the damage characteristics. So basically, you just buff your weapon itself, and you don't have any. There's no ability within it. House Kiar, Conquers Without Mercy. Each time Rampant Cruelty is their bond. Each time a model with this bond makes an attack, if the attack is made against a unit that is below half strength, when this model is selected to shoot or fight, add 1 to the wound roll. So this is good for other monsters or titans or machines, as long as they're half strength. Let's see, their stratagem is Fury of Sultor's Wake. In your charge phase, when the model from your army finishes a charge move, select 1 enemy unit with engagement range. If your model, select roll 4d6. If the model is Titanic, roll 6d6 instead. For each dice result that is equal or exceeds that enemy unit's toughness, it suffers a mortal wound. For each unmodified roll of 6, that model suffers 2 mortal wounds. If this model is a war dog class model, the stratagem costs 1, otherwise it costs 2. So basically, like if you have, I want to say if you have a lot of smaller ones around it, basically you can just do some damage. But this is, I want to say this is good for characters maybe. You just got to beat that character's toughness. Let's see, Warlord trait is Maddened Cries. When an enemy unit is within 9 inches of the Warlord at the start of each morale phase, it must take a Dread test. If that test has failed, the unit suffers a mortal wound. And their relic is a Warp Shield. They get +5 in a 5-up invuln against melee. Each time a melee attack is made against the bearer, an unmodified saving throw of 6, the attacking unit suffers 1 mortal wound after all attacks have been resolved, to a maximum total of 6 wounds per attacking unit. Very nice. So this is good if you're being surrounded in combat. Let's see. Vitrex. This one is a part of the Dark Mechanicum, so you have a Demonic Surge. Titankin. Each model with this bond is selected to shoot. You can reroll 1 hit roll and 1 wound roll when resolving that model's attack. The stratagem is during the shooting phase. When the model from your army is selected to shoot until the end of that phase, each time that model makes a ranged attack, you can ignore any or all hit rolls and ballistic skill modifiers. So very good against debuffs. Favor of the Dark Mechanicum is the trait. If a Warlord is a war class, add 1 to the wound. If the Warlord is a Titan, add 2 to the wounds. At the start of each of your command phases, the Warlord regains D3 lost wounds. Heretic Power Core is the relic. Add 2 to the movement characteristic each time the bearer makes a melee attack, unless that attack is made using a sweep profile or of a melee weapon. Add 1 to the damage characteristics of the attack. Very nice. The Dread Households. Let's see. Demonic Surge is their ambition for Commodus. Bond is Profane Symbiosis. Each time a model with this bond uses Demonic Surge, if you choose to inflict a mortal wound, you can re-roll the D3 when determining the Demonic Surge results. If you do D3, select 2 results and then apply to the model. Very nice. That's actually affects more on the Demonic Surge. Encircling Hounds is the stratagem. Select that 1 house war dog class model from your army that is in reserves. That unit can arrive from reserve during the reinforcement step of the phase as if the battle round was 1 higher than it currently is, regardless of any mission rules. So basically you can, if you do deep strike or reinforcement, this will help you move in quicker. Dread Hunter. Once per battle at the start of your shooting phase, this Warlord can make a killing strike. If it does, select 1 ranged weapon this Warlord is equipped with until the end of the phase. Each time an attack is made with that weapon, you can re-roll the hit and re-roll the wound, and you can add 1 to the damage characteristics of the attack. Interesting. So it's like just a one-time use thing. Like, okay, you get re-roll hits, wounds, and damage for your shooting. Demonic Strike. Let's see. This one is for the Pure Shade model. At the start of each of your shooting phases, select 1 enemy unit within 18 inches of the bearer. Until the end of the turn, each time a ranged attack is made by the bearer against an enemy unit, improve the armor pen of the attack by 1. House Korvax. This also has the Demonic Surge. Let's see. You are Forged in Terror. Once per battle, at the start of any battle round, you can select 1 Harbinger ability from those corresponding in the current battle round or any previous battle round. This ability becomes active for every model with this bond in your army, even if every unit from your army does not have the Chaos Knight keyword. Ooh. So basically, so if it's not, even if it's not a Chaos Knight. So as long as they have the Household Korvax bond, they're considered having that Harbinger ability, which I assume we're going to look at later on. Let's see, Knight of Shade. The stratagem, at the start of your movement phase or at the start of your charge, select 2 War Dog class models or 1 Korvax Titanic model from your army. Until the end of the phase, the selected model can move horizontally through models and terrain features as if they were not there. Lord of the Dead is the Warlord trait. Add 3 to the range of the aura abilities to a maximum of 12. Add 3 to the range of the dreaded abilities for the Warlords. Interesting. So like I said, this particular one has just an effect that buffs both, specifically the dreaded and their aura ability. Let's see, Rune of Darkness. Korvax model only. Once per battle round, when saving throw made for the bearer is failed, you can use this relic. When you do, the damage characteristic of that attack is changed to 0. Each time this relic is used, roll a 2d6. If the result is equal or greater than the bearer's leadership, this relic cannot be used again during the battle. Interesting. So you can void an attack, if I'm looking at this right. And then as long as you roll under the model's leadership, boom, it can keep using it. And depending on the damage things, it might be pretty good. Here we are, Dread Households, the Fell Bonds. For Iconoclast households, they're the Fell Bond of Bold Tyrants. Each time a model with this Fell Bond makes a ranged, if the attack is within 18, improve the armor pen of 1. Frenzy Invaders, each time a model with this Fell Bond makes a melee attack, an unmodified of 6 scores an additional hit. One of the following Dread Households, Lucerus, Herpex, or House of Chimere. Use the household bond of the Dread household you select as listed. If the character model of this Fell Bond gains a Warlord trait, you can have that Dread household Warlord trait associated with the Dread household you selected, instead of the Warlord trait from page 74. If a character has a Warlord trait, replace all instances of the Dread household with the keyword on that Dread household Warlord trait, House Lucerus, if any, with the name Dread household that this character is from. You gain access to the Dread household stratagem associated with the Dread household you selected. When using such a stratagem, replace all instances of Dread household keyword on that Dread household stratagem with the household keyword for the units that have this Fell Bond. I'm not exactly sure how that reads. I'll have to look at it a bit more. Learned Idolaters. Each time an attack with armor penetration characteristic of -1 is allocated to a model with this Fell Bond, that attack has armor penetration of 0. Very nice. In your shooting phase, each time a model with this Fell Bond is selected to shoot, if it has advanced, then until the shooting phase, it counts as remaining stationary. Precision Cruelty. Each time a model with this Fell Bond makes a range attack of an unmodified wound roll of 6, +1 to your armor pen, +1 to damage. Nice. Of that attack, particularly. Wrath. Let's see. Prideful Wrath. With the Fell Bond, whose characteristics can change as they suffer damage, are considered to have double the remaining wounds for the purpose of determining what those characteristics are. Awesome. So basically, this is Prideful Wrath is good if you want to be considered a step up or step below, because it just doubles your health on the chart, not particularly available. So just if you have 10 health left, you consider it as having 20. Worthy Offerings. Each time a model with this Fell Bond makes an attack against a monster, vehicle, or character, add 1 to the attack hit roll. If a model with this Fell Bond has Favor of the Dark Gods and destroys that, a monster, vehicle, or character during the phase, then at the end of the phase, its offering is accepted regardless of how many marks it has on the offering tally. I will need to look that up. It appears that there's an offering effect, which I'll have to look up later. So the Infernal Household Bonds. Select one of the following characters. If it's a bond, it gains a Warlord trait from on page 74 instead. It gets their house trait rather than on page 74. Dark Forging. Add 4 to the range characteristic of a ranged weapons model with its Fell Bond equipped with. Add 1 to the strength and damage characteristics of any Dilbus Heavy Stubber with a model with this Fell Bond is equipped with. Each time a model with the Fell Bond is selected a target for the Heavy Stubber, you can ignore the Lookout Sir rule. Merciless Tormentors. Each time a model with the Fell Bond makes a ranged attack, if the target is within 18 inches, reroll the hits of 1. Geese Ruin. Each time a ranged attack is made with a model with a Spell Bond, if the attacker is more than 18 inches away, then the model with the Fell Bond is treated as having benefits of light cover for the attack. Hellforge Construction. Each time an attack with a strength characteristic of 7 or less is allocated to this model with the Fell Bond, subtract 1 from the damage to a minimum of 1. Biochemical Fusion. If a Dreadblade has the Spell Bond, that model gains the Demonic Surge Traitorous Ambition, even though they cannot normally have it. Each time a model with this Fell Bond, excluding the Dreadblade, suffers a mortal wound while using the Surge, roll a d6, and on a 4-up, the wound is not lost. Unhallowed Inscriptions. Each time a model with the Fell Bond would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, unless it is inflicted as a result of a demonic surge, on a 5-up the wound is not lost. Add 1 to the Deny the Witch test made for Psyker models with this Fell Bond. Warp Vision. Each time an attack is made with this model with the Fell Bond, the target does not receive light cover. And then it will go over all the different stratagems for each, from what it looks like each particular one, such as Chaos Knights, Requisition Stratagem, Shit to Play, War Gear. Yeah, it just goes over particular ones. Okay, Favor of the Dark Gods. This seems what it looks like. If your army of battle, let's see, when you're mustering your army, you can upgrade any War Dog, Abhorrent, and Tyrant class by giving them 1 Favor of the Dark Gods. Chosen, prescribed here. Only 1 War Dog class model in each unit can be given a Favor of the Dark Gods. Each time you give a model in a Favor of the Dark Gods, its power ratings increase by the amount shown on the table to the right. If you're playing a match game, use the points. An army or Crusade force cannot include the same Favor of the Dark Gods more than once. A Crusade force cannot start with a model having any models having Favor of the Dark Gods to include 1 Crusade in a force. You must use Dark Fervor Requisition on page 88. A model cannot use its favorite ability until after it has proven worthy of the offering from its patron deity. Keep an offering tally for each model with the Favor of the Dark Gods. Each time this model destroys an enemy model, add a number of marks to its tally equal to the wound characteristics of that model it destroyed. The tally required to provide a worthy offering is different from different classes of models, as shown as the tally below. So for War Dogs, you need to kill at least, do 5 wounds. Abhorrent class need to do at least 10 wounds. Tyrant class need to do at least 15. And then it goes for all these different effects, such as Blood Shield, Collar of the Infernal Brass, Throne of Mechanicum Skills, Pyro Throne, so on. So basically, it goes over what favor you get from either Khorne, Tzeentch, Nurgle, Slaanesh, or I want to say Undivided. We'll just go over a few of these. Okay, so for example, Blood Shield. They gain the Khorne keyword. Once per battle at the start of the fight phase, the bearer can activate Blood Shield. When it does, until the end of the phase, each time it makes a melee attack, the invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against the attack. Each time melee attack is made against the bearer, invulnerable saving throws cannot be made against the attack. Each time melee attack is made against the bearer, invulnerable cannot be made. So, from what it looks like, the Blood Shield basically prevents invulnerability saves. Both yours and theirs. If the model is a Knight Abominant, it loses a Psyker keyword and cannot manifest powers, but the weapon skill is improved by 1 and its attack characteristic improved by 1. Interesting. Let's see. But then it goes over a couple others. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Nurgle, then Slaanesh, and then Chaos Undivided. Kind of just depends on how you want to model it. Each one has their own. Then we have the standard Warlord traits. We have the Warp Storm Discipline, which is basically your Psyker abilities. We have the relics, basically goes over, hey, this is what each one does, such as for the Teeth That Hunger. A model equipped with a Reaper Chainsword only. This relic replaces the Reaper Chainsword. It has the following profile. Teeth That Hunger. Each time the bearer fights, it makes 1 additional attack with the weapon. Each time an attack is made with this weapon, select one of the profiles, Strike or Sweep. Strike does +8, Strength, -4 AP, d6 damage. Sweep does +2 strength, -3 AP, 2 damage each. Each time an attack is made with this weapon's sweep profile, make 3 hit rolls instead of 1. So on and so on. Basically, it's like it's a relic for your larger weapons. Every army has one, but each one does a different effect and ability. Obviously, certain ones have certain rules. Here we go, chapter approved rules, which basically is some upgrades and some effects. Crusader rules. I don't know much about the Crusade rules, like I haven't been in a while. Eightfold Path Damnation. This appears to be something else, but that falls under Crusade. I'm not exactly sure what Crusade is on that. Circle of Damnation. It appears to be a... Oh my. From what this Crusade rule looks like, I think it might be like a campaign game, like I forget what fantasy does, but it's like a hero thing. I forget. It's been a long while. But it goes over different effects. It's like a campaign type deal. Instead of just one game, you do like multiple games over a course. And if you do certain things or do certain stuff, you get points, upgrade your guys. Agendas, battle traits, battle scars. It goes over a lot of different information. Crusade relics, then the Crusade army, data sheets, going over your weapons, going over the abilities, going over keywords. Harbingers of Dread. Every unit in your army has the Chaos Knight keyword, excluding the unaligned and Agents of Chaos. When this unit gains a bonus, depending on what Harbinger abilities are active for your army, starting your battle round, you must select one Harbinger ability, either Despair, Doom, or Darkness. Harbinger ability for the corresponding choices in the battle round. Once you have a Harbinger ability, it becomes active for the remainder of the battle, applies to units in your army. Some rules are like... appears to be like a rotating effect. Like for example, everyone starts with Doom, and the unit within Dread range, subtract 1 from their leadership. Each time a combat attrition test is taken for the enemy unit, subtract 1 from that test. And it just keeps, you can like choose that and then go from each one until you get to the end. And now here goes over all the effects and weapons, such as the War Dogs. You got 4 different ways you can build your 5 different ways you can build your War Dog, each one with their own stats, capabilities, weapons, abilities, what options they get. Do they go full range? Do they go full melee? Can they switch out this weapon? Knight Despoiler, Knight Desecrator, Knight Rampager, Knight Abominant, Knight Tyrant, as well as finally all your weapon profiles summed up here. Here's what this weapon does. Here's how many shots you can take. Here's what bonuses or powers they give. Here's how much it costs per model or unit or ability. And then glossary going over, hey, here's a page for certain effects or abilities. But that is, and then finally reference for exact pages on what does what. But that is basically that. Oh, and then there's something new they started doing. They added something called a code. Basically, if you want to do online thing, I want to cover this up because it's going to be a different thing. But basically, you can access the rules on the go, and you have a code, and you can redeem the code at warhammer40000.com. Redeem. But basically, I remember hearing that they came out with a whole online rules effects. I forget if there's a particular system they do, but basically, if you bought the book and you can't find your book, each book will come with a code and be like, oh, I go online, ping, here's what my book says. Okay, here's all the rules for the book. And it's all proper and updated and everything. But other than that, we are almost an hour into this. I do thank y'all for joining me on this lovely thing. But before we continue, I'm going to do one last thing. It's been a long while, but I'm going to go ahead and crack out more Fire Mini. we'll go ahead and... I do have several in the backlog. Like I said, I haven't touched any in a while. I've been dealing with other stuff. But we're going to do one unboxing, at least for now. I do hope I'm going to try to make my next video relatively quick, ideally. Hopefully it won't take me more than a month to do it, but for y'all, open up, and who do we get? Alright, packaging. Check. And we have, looks like 3 models. Who does this one belong to? You are... Oh, it's Necrons. Yep, ooh, look at that. That is Necrons right there. So, we have 2 types of Necrons. These are the newer ones, actually, and then these little bits right here. Okay, so I'm going to bring it up to the camera so y'all can actually see worth a dang. Basically, right here, as a reminder, Warp Crate is basically a nice, lovely little service. Let's say you want just random bits to flesh out your army, or you want to get some models to check out, paint, whatever. You can actually pay 25 bucks either per 2 weeks and get either 1 box of Warhammer 40K or a box of Fantasy. Completely up to you. They have an assortment of things and stuff. From what it looks like, this particular one looks like a newer version of the Necrons. I forget what these, I don't even know what these guys are called, but these guys look pretty nice. As you can see, some of them become painted, others not so much, because they also do trade-in deals where you can be like, hey, I don't want these models anymore. You send it to them, and through the things they can actually either resell it or they can do a painting service. There's an assortment of things they do for these, but I definitely don't know what this is. For those that play Necrons may know more about me. But all in all, this looks like a nice little find. And like I said, these are everything, like you said, this right here, this I got for 25 bucks. That's it. They mailed it to me in that lovely little box. It got here. Now, depending on, like I said, if you've seen some of my other videos, every time I usually do a video, I show off what I get. So, like I said, this particular one's a thing of Necrons. Beforehand was like a squad of, like a 3-man squad of Space Marines. They were like the assassin guys. I forget their name. But officially, if you actually look, if you know what these models are and you look up their pricing, I get a good deal, because for 25 bucks, you're not going to get a lot. It's going to be expensive, especially especially if you're in the U.S. You can get these mailed right to you, no questions, no issues, no problems. Like I said, they all come in the box, all safe, secure, and ready to be sent to you itself. Like I said, $25, you can get a lot. I remember one of the things I had was a skull cannon, and if my memory serves me right, when I looked that up, that was actually at least more than $25. You can't get a skull cannon for 25 bucks. But other than that, like I said, it's all random. Though I don't, it's not guaranteed for who you want, but like I said, you'd be like, hey, I want a Space Marine, I want Necrons, I want Skaven, I want this, that, or other, and they'll just send you a random one every $25. Comes right to your door. Crack it open, boom, you got yourself a new unit or a new model, or it's unpainted, or it's still in its sprue. Like I said, all in all, like I said, check these guys out. I normally will show them up. It's simply warpcrate.com. They will do everything you need, really. But other than that, I need to get going. I have a couple other things I got to deal with. I thank you all very much for joining me, and I'm going to try to send this video up soon, and hope you have a wonderful time.